Job dissatisfaction is a major problem in the workforce. According to latest research, a whopping 85% of working professionals feel unhappy with what they do. Of course, there are many possible reasons for this phenomenon, but today I'm going to talk about one thing that could profoundly revolutionize your level of fulfillment, not only in your current job, but throughout your entire career, and set you on a completely new trajectory. Does that sound good? Let's go. Hey, this is Matt from Elevation Career, here to help you stand out in this competitive job market. Do you know what the number one motivator is when it comes to one's career? The one thing that spurs people and propels them when it comes to work. And it's not money, nor title. It's not about managing people, having a great work-life balance, or even going on vacations. The number one factor that drives people is progress. Making progress is the single greatest source of motivation for the vast majority of professionals. The problem is that most people do not experience growth, or more accurately, they do not progress at a rate they desire, or their growth is not steady enough to make any meaningful impact in their career. Well, just by doing the same thing over and over again for an extended period of time, everyone will eventually become slightly better or faster at what they do. But this kind of growth, which is both slow and sporadic, is not exactly conducive to tangible advancement. Today, I have good news for you. There is a simple secret to experiencing the kind of progress that we all long for, which is both significant and continual. In fact, because of its simplicity, many reject the idea, but that is a terrible mistake. So, do you want to know what it is? Yes? Okay, I'll tell you. The secret to meaningful progress is active learning. Not just sitting around and getting better at something through forced repetition, but actively and intentionally going after knowledge and improvement. And if you're not doing this right now, if you feel like, what's the point? Learning isn't going to change anything for me. I'm here to tell you, this is the one thing that is keeping you from performing at your highest level and thriving at work. According to recent research, over 88% of financially successful people spend over 30 minutes on reading and learning every day on average. That's 88%. And if you look at some of the most successful people in the world, including the likes of Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and Jack Ma, for example, they practice what's called a 5-hour rule, which is basically spending at least 5 hours each week or more to deliberately learn something new. These incredibly accomplished people still devote that much of their life to continue learning. But on the flip side, the vast majority of professionals who feel disengaged in their work do not invest in training or growth. So this is what I'm going to do for the rest of this video. I'm going to share with you 3 practical ways to start learning right now. Because if you only become aware of the importance of learning, but do not take action, it's not going to help us much, right? So here we go. Number 1, read top-rated books relevant to your field. The first and the easiest way to start is by reading great books. Books in your field are ones that teach relevant, applicable skills for your profession. If you're wondering how to choose your first volume, just go to Amazon and pick the topics that you're interested in, again, that are relevant to your field, and look for titles whose review scores are 4.5 or higher, okay? And then, as you read the reviews, focus on the ones where people talk about how their lives were transformed, how the content was so captivating, or how they just couldn't put it down, and etc. The reason for this is because, especially in the beginning, you're still building the habit of reading. So you want to start with content that is both fun and engaging as much as possible. In fact, if you're reading something and it's just too boring, don't worry about it. Just find another title that intrigues you. Some books are more exciting than others, so we can always choose the ones that work for us. Another great learning material is motivational books. By definition, they are designed to inspire us in our work, learning, and life. So if you're struggling with a lack of drive or energy, these materials could be extremely helpful. I recommend starting with the more classic speakers and authors such as Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, and Jim Rohn. Number 2, the 1% rule. In his highly influential book, The 1% Rule, the author, Tommy Baker, teaches the concept of improving just 1% at a time. His idea is that if we get better by just 1% every day, this will translate to at least 365% of improvement in 1 year. He explains that one of the reasons why most people do not even bother to learn is because they feel it'll be too much effort and the result will not be worth it. But the reality is the opposite. If we make an effort to simply enhance one area, any area, by 1% daily, which is not very overwhelming, in just 100 days, we would have grown by 100%. Who would love to grow by 100% in just over 3 months? I do. And if over 1 year, the improvement will be even more drastic. You do not need to put excessive pressure on yourself. This is not a sprint. Progress is a journey. What's much more crucial is consistency and showing up every day instead of how much you get done in one go. So focus on improving every day, every week, even if it's just 1%. Before my third and final point, if you found this video helpful, please click the like button below and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. Number 3, but what if I'm too busy? One of the most common objections to learning is, I'm too busy and I don't have time. Well, I totally agree with you actually, because you're right. You do not have enough time. But you know what? Everyone has the same exact amount. So what's the difference? How come some people can devote themselves to so much learning and others do not? The difference is not how much time we have, which is exactly the same for everyone. Instead, the difference is in priority. Before I first started my learning journey, I always felt like I had no time to. I was reading maybe 1 to 2 books a year. I had a full-time job, was married with 2 small kids. One of them was a baby, so I was hardly sleeping. But once I was convinced of the need for progress, I ended up reading about 24 books the first year. I went from 1 to 24 in just 1 year. And trust me, it was not because I became less busy all of a sudden. In fact, if anything, I became even more busy. The only reason I was able to do this was because I prioritized it. I turned my commute time into reading time, and I started using Audible so I can listen while walking, which freed up about 45 minutes every day. And this is more than enough to go through 2 books per month. You know what though? What I do is nothing. The number of books that CEOs read on average is about 50 to 60 books per year, which is just insane. I don't know much about being a CEO, but one thing I do know is that they're probably about an order of magnitude busier than I am. But these guys make the conscious decision to devote that much of their life to reading. And why do they do that? It's because they have experienced firsthand the power of learning and recognize it is an absolute necessity for their life. Before I started reading books, I felt completely lost in my then recruitment job. This was before I started doing career coaching in my current firm elevation career. And at that time, I had over 10 years of professional experience, and yet I had little to show for. Sure, I had moments of success along the way, but they were short-lived and sporadic in the end. I was struggling with the same challenges over and over again, and I never felt I had grasped what I was supposed to do. I was convinced major progress was not possible for me, and as a result, I constantly struggled with the lack of motivation, which made things only worse. But once I started on this learning journey, and I'm not exaggerating, everything about me changed. First, I started discovering so many new things, which gave me hope for meaningful advancement, which in turn created a new momentum. I started recognizing what I was doing wrong that was hindering my performance, and I started to make necessary changes. Within just a few years, I started to see substantially more consistency in my results and felt like I was finally beginning to master my work. I also started to close deals with such regularity. Not only was I boosting my own numbers, soon I was helping any colleague who had trouble with closing and became the go-to person in the firm. I also ended up improving the company's overall performance as a whole. In just 3 to 4 years since I started active learning, I became a director, posted a record performance in the company's history, and for the first time, I was having fun. And believe me, I'm not saying these things to pat myself on the back or to brag. Please trust me. All I'm trying to do is to show you how I went from feeling totally stuck and hopeless and not knowing what to do to achieving things that I never thought possible. And all of this originated from learning. If you are struggling with motivation or frustrated in your career like I was before, I really hope this message will produce a new sense of excitement for what is possible for you. So you will become the very best you can and fully impact the people you're called to bless. Thank you so much for watching. If you are looking for a job in Asia and you're looking for free strategic tips on resume and interview, be sure to check out my free online course on my website, elevationcareer.com. The link will be in the description too. And I wish you all the very best.